So, do you remember when Michelle Obama wore a sleeveless dress?
Oh, you mean Armgate? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there was any debate about whether or not she looked nice, but there seemed to be this real meltdown that she had bare arms in the chamber.
And welcome back. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast for people who know that you can say more with a killer outfit than you can with a formulaic speech. Our guest today is an award-winning senior critic at large at The Washington Post with expertise in politics, race, and, perhaps most importantly, fashion and the arts. Robin Givhan, welcome to Hysteria.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have you back. So, in the past, people attending the State of the Union have used fashion to make statements when they don't have the microphone. And it seems to be happening more and more in recent history. For instance, women wore suffragist white in 2020. In 2022, many members of the chamber wore yellow and blue to support Ukraine. What have been your favorite fashion statements from States of the Union in the recent past?
From a political messaging point of view or from a fashion aesthetics point of view?
How about let's do both?
Both.
Well, I mean, I think that the white that was marking the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment was really powerful, in part because I felt like it sort of encompassed a lot that was going on at the time. It was that historical marker, but it also just sort of reflected, and I wrote about this sort of white hot fury that was coming from a lot of the Democratic caucus, particularly the women. And it was also the State of the Union when Speaker Pelosi sort of at the end of President Trump's speech, sort of very neatly stacked up the papers of his speech that he had handed her at the beginning, and in one motion ripped it in half. So that white just kind of encompassed the power of, you know, women voicing their opinion, their fury, and also this kind of, you know, sort of righteous indignation.
Do you think we see more and more dressing to convey a message now because of social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are really acutely aware that, you know, almost every occasion is being not even preserved in photographs, but immediately, you know, deliberated over via visuals. I mean, I think there's like real-time dissection of what people are wearing and what it means, how it fits into an environment, how it reflects a situation. And I think that, you know, it's, you know, a generation of sort of political consumers who are also really acutely aware of the visual in a way that I don't think existed even a decade ago.
Mm-hmm. This week, Kyrsten Sinema announced she will not be seeking re-election. I know that she's somebody that you've had thoughts on in the past. Are you going to miss her?
I'm absolutely going to miss seeing her. I mean, this is someone who was or is incredibly disingenuous in her use of fashion. I mean, this is someone who makes very conscious decisions about how she's going to dress in ways that are very much not in sync with traditional expectations, and then sort of voices this dismay or disgust when someone notices that she's not dressing in a traditional manner. It's sort of like, you know, going into a room with your hair on fire, and when people ask, would you like us to put your hair out? They look at you and say, fire? There's no fire.
Robin, let's chat about first ladies and their so-to moments. So, do you remember when Michelle Obama wore a sleeveless dress to the State of the Union and everybody gasped and clutched their pearls?
Oh, you mean Armgate? Yeah, absolutely. Was it like technically a State of the Union, or was it a dress?
It may have been a joint session.
A joint session. But yes, she was wearing a sleeveless dress. If memory serves, I think it might have been Narciso Rodriguez. It was a beautiful dress. It was sort of these tones of burgundy, Merlot, something like that. And I don't think there was any debate about whether or not she looked nice. But there seemed to be this real meltdown that she had bare arms in the chamber. And one of the things that I thought was just priceless was that for all of this, back and forth and just like furor over the fact that she was wearing this sleeveless dress and how it was just so inappropriate and that it just had never been done and lo and behold, Jackie Kennedy had worn a sleeveless dress to a State of the Union and no one had batted an eye. And of course, in terms of fashion, Jackie Kennedy could do no wrong in some people's eye. So I thought it was a moment that said, it was a little bit of a fashion Rorschach test, I think. It said a lot about what I think was to come for Michelle Obama.
Right. Well, and then she ended her run as First Lady in 2016 when she again wore sleeveless. This time it was a marigold color Narciso Rodriguez. And at that point, a lot of critics had gone out and said, well, she wore this because he's a married gay man, son of immigrants who had fled Cuba, and Trump was in the middle of stoking anti-immigrant sentiment. The same night, Kim Davis, the Kentucky County Clerk who had refused to issue marriage licenses to gay couples, also attended the State of the Union as the guest of an Ohio congressman. She wore a red, white, and blue shawl. Again, reported in the same article as Michelle Obama's marigold. Do you think people are reading too much into things when they report in that amount of detail? Are they projecting it? Does anything move the needle or actually matter?
In this case, no. I mean, I think if you show up for a State of the Union wrapped in a flag, an American flag, I don't think people are reading too much into that. I mean, you are clearly trying to make some kind of statement about what America means to you or your vision of patriotism or your idea of sort of how you fit into the American fabric. You're trying to make some kind of statement. With Michelle Obama and the choice of another Narciso dress, I don't think that you're reading too much into it in the sense that by that point in the administration, it was very well known that she made these fashion choices considering a lot of things, and particularly considering the designer who created it. And she had spent a good portion of her time in the East Wing really elevating smaller design houses, spreading sort of the spotlight around. She was not one of those sort of a traditional First Lady who had a tendency to choose one or two designers as their go-to. And that was sort of it. And it also felt kind of like a nice sort of full circle moment because she had worn a Narciso dress at that first speech, but she'd also worn one of his dresses when I think on election night when Obama had won.
I remember that dress like very, very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I was there at Grant Park in Chicago. I think, Alyssa, were you there too?
Oh, I was there.
And, the funny thing about that dress is people were so confused about it because she'd worn a cardigan with it. And it was a sleeveless dress, and I guess maybe it was a bit chilly or something. And she slipped on this black cardigan, and people were sort of scratching their head and not sort of quite grasping what the dress was all about. And I remember Narciso was like, well, she put a cardigan on with it. And I asked, oh, was she not supposed to do that? Was that a problem? And he's like, I would never say that a woman turned a dress into a problem.
That's I was like bracing myself for it to be
me too.
a very fashion answer that's like, it completely disregards the comfort of the woman wearing it. And I was like, oh, that's actually really nice. That's really.
He was like, are you kidding? She was wearing my dress. That's all I cared about.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so sort of rapid fire now. Robin, is there anyone who was treated uncharitably or as though they weren't remarkable or having anything to say in the past who you think deserves a second look in terms of like the way that they use fashion to make a political statement?
You know, she wasn't overlooked, but I do think that if I had to go back, it would be nice to spend a little more time settling into Nancy Pelosi when she was Speaker, because she did use her fashion, I think, in ways that were really interesting and powerful. You know, there was obviously so much going on, and she clearly, you know, had the microphone as well as the gavel. And so there wasn't quite as much attention paid to her style. Other than I think a lot of people quite admired it as something that conveyed power without sort of losing a sense of sort of classic femininity. But, you know, when she took back the gavel, you know, in this bright fuchsia dress, when she walked out of a meeting with Trump in that sort of coral colored coat and put on the sunglasses, I mean, there were these moments that I think really resonated, and just that image told you so much about who she was and her attitude at that time, that I think it would be interesting to go back and look more closely at her style over the course of her career.
That's such an interesting point. And as you were talking, Robin, I was just thinking about the concept of women dressing for other women and how some of the messages that Nancy was sending are messages that women were more ready to receive, I think, than men. Like her wearing those super, super high heels all the time. I don't think men have an intimate relationship with how much that hurts and how challenging it is to be on your feet, you know, being in public, wearing shoes like that all day. Like I felt the pink and the red and some of the color choices she made were things that I think as a woman, I was like, that's so cute, or like, that's a great color, or it felt like it was being telegraphed to one gender and like, this is for the ladies.
Yeah, I often felt that she was, you know, stating to women who, and perhaps women who were really looking to kind of grow into their power, that, you know, you didn't have to change who you were in order to excel in a place that is male dominated.
If you could help dress somebody for the State of the Union, or if you could advise them or give them a thumbs up or thumbs down, who would you want to dress and how would you dress them?
Well, I'm not a stylist, so I do refrain from offering styling advice.
Are there any designers that you think certain political figures should take a look at when they're considering how to dress?
Well, I always think that they should look first to American designers. And I think they should spread the love a little bit beyond Oscar de la Renta and Michael Kors. Though I love both of those brands, I think they're wonderful. I think that people like, you know, Gabriella Hearst and The Row by Ashley Mary-Kate Olsen are beautiful brands that convey authority without being fussy, and I think are also very easy to wear. The Row is very easy to wear if you've got lots and lots of money.
Quiet luxury.
I will add that. If I had any wish for the State of the Union, I mean, I hope that there aren't any more like giant fur-trimmed white coats.
Oh man, Cruella de Vil meets the White Queen from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's okay to be mean because she's terrible. Robin, have you heard any rumors that we're going to see any coordinated group dressing at this State of the Union?
I haven't, but I don't know. I'm sure our political team has like the total lowdown on that. But no, I haven't. I have not heard about any phalanx of congresswomen in white or any all black dressing or anything like that. I'm assuming that the members of the Congressional Black Caucus will wear their usual African stoles or whatever, however they might be described. And, I think it's always interesting to see what the First Lady will wear. Because, again, she is, hosting people in her box. The camera is on her. And, that entire tableau is, just one giant political statement.
Moving away from the State of the Union specifically, as you probably know, Erin and I read everything that you write. And recently, you wrote about the leading 2024 candidates' ages. We got to ask you, do you think Biden dresses better than Trump?
Well, yeah.
Like, what makes him better at dressing his age than Trump?
I have to admit that I have had this long obsession with President Biden and his pocket square. And I have a dear friend who is he's a men's stylist. And I remember having this conversation with him and I said, just please tell me, am I like losing my mind that I'm so obsessed with this pocket square? And he assured me that my love for it was not weird. But one of the reasons why Biden is a much better dresser is because his suit fits. And often men tend to wear suits that are a little too big for them because they want to be comfortable. And they think that, a baggier or looser fit is going to make them more comfortable. So Biden's suit jackets really fit his frame. And his trousers are also hemmed to the right length. They break slightly over his shoe, but they don't puddle. And there is a tendency for, if you're not precise about the tailoring, to let the pants puddle, and it creates kind of a sloppy look. And there's also that element of the pocket square, which is this very sort of, it's very traditional. It's very old school. It has an air of formality to it. But I think it also lends a bit of polish because it's always a white pocket square. It's not some, giant colorful flourish or anything like that. It's not ostentatious. It's very precise in its folding and it's tucked very neatly in there. And I think all of that combines, to create this very precisely tailored, elegant look. And he's very good with the sportswear as well, which is where a lot of men often get in trouble when it comes to, the sort of business casual look. With Trump, his suits just don't fit. It's not even that they're poorly made. I mean, these are expensive suits that just aren't tailored well. And I think that's a real lesson for people, that it's not the cost of the clothing, it's whether or not the clothing fits you. And just don't even get me started on the tie. I mean, the tie, which hangs down to his crotch, is just unspeakable.
Yeah, there's something about Republican men and bad fitting suits. I know there are Democratic men that do it too, but it seems like it's maybe more concentrated on one side of the aisle. And sometimes it seems to me like they're trying to message their voters who also dress sloppily. I don't know. So lastly, can you settle an insane social media debate once and for all?
The dress was gold. No, I'm kidding.
Close.
It is about a dress. Was DA Fani Willis wearing her dress backwards during her testimony a few weeks ago? Please, Robin, settle it for us.
No, I mean, come on, social media. Are you kidding me? First of all, we think that this woman doesn't know how to dress herself. Secondly, I think that shows a real lack of familiarity with the vast array of styles that women's dresses come in. And third, even if she was wearing it backwards, oftentimes people look at a dress and decide, you know what, it looks better the other way and I like it the other way. And I'm confident enough in my own sense of style that that's the way I'm going to wear it.
Yeah, I mean, on the Cezanne website, they show people wearing cardigans backwards. So
people wear cardigans backwards. People, wear, sweatshirts backwards or inside out. And yes, sometimes people make a choice they wear a skirt backwards. They wear, all kinds of things backwards. I was once at a fashion show where all the shoes looked like they were on backwards, but that's a completely different thing. But no, her dress was not on backwards.
Okay, thank you for settling that for us, Robin. Robin Givhan, columnist at the Washington Post. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back.